We're here with Simone, the interview about sex addicts.
Hello.
How did you choose the cast members for the video? I understand that was pretty challenging.
It was a big clusterfuck. Like, I had a couple people that I wanted to do it initially, and one person was like, oh yeah, great, but they clearly didn't read the script, because later when I was like, okay, so you're fine with this, this, and this, and they're like, oh no, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, well, it's how it's gonna happen, so I'm gonna have to find somebody else. And so then I emailed another person who didn't bother to get back to me until the day of the shoot. Not very professional. Yeah, that person's not on my list anymore, people I want to shoot with. So eventually it came down to Lena, who I think was actually who was going to play that character all along, and then Ariel X. And I wrote with them in mind, which was a little difficult because I didn't really know Ariel X, but I kind of imagined her as, you know, kind of this tough, sexy person from what limited knowledge I had of her. That character, when it was being initially written for another person, was going to be more like airy and like, oh, but I like the way it turned out, and I think Lena and Ariel complemented each other really well in body type and attitude and professionalism, and in the end I think I got the perfect cast. I'm really happy with it.
How did you come up with the sausage scene? Where did you write that?
Well, writers write about what they know. And I actually tried to write that scene in a couple different restaurants, and I was having a big problem getting seated at places. So I ended up in IHOP, sitting in IHOP in a booth, eating my breakfast. Yes, it had sausage in it and bacon, and I was writing away feverishly in my notebook, you know, with like one hand over so like people couldn't see, walking by couldn't see what I was doing, and it was very thrilling. Actually, I like to write really dirty things in public places because I think it's amusing.
Okay. What are your thoughts on Ariel X?
Ariel X is really great. She's a great performer. She actually does exude sex from every pore. It's not a myth. And just consummate professional. She was there. She knew her lines. She was just like boom, boom, boom. It was really refreshing.
And Lena Ramon?
Lena Ramon is one of the smartest and funniest models I know. She should definitely be a comedian of some sort. Or a writer or something. She too, you know, she had the most lines of anybody in the movie, and she too is just like, you know, got it on the first take, you know, and you can see in the BTS, like, she's really funny and just such a delight to work with and be around, and I'm so thrilled that she was in this movie.
On Zenova Braden?
Zenova had a really hard task, because initially she was just supposed to do makeup and stills, and then our cameraman didn't show up. So she had to juggle a lot of different things, and was able to pull it off and do them well. So much respect. She and I work together a lot actually, and she's now directing for some stuff for Spice, which is pretty cool. So check it out.
Some might say the video was cursed. Elaborate.
Yes, Aiden Starr, my roommate and partner on Vicious Vixens, says this video was cursed, and that I tend to make a lot of cursed videos, and this was definitely one. We got to the hotel, they said we could have an early check-in, and then they made us wait for 2 hours before we could get our room. When we got there, then the bellhop must have known something was up, because he would not leave. We're like, okay, yeah, our stuff's inside, thanks, bye. And he's like, oh, and this, and this, and this, and this, and gave us like a half-an-hour tour of our room before he would finally leave. Sitting in there on the phone, like making frantic calls, moving everybody's call times. Then my cameraman calls actually as we're walking down the hallway to the room, to tell me that he can't come because he got dropped on his head the night before and had to get stitches or something. I wasn't really interested in the story at that point because, you know, it's like, oh shit, I have this fancy hotel room I just checked in, 2 models on the way, and I have no cameraman. So then after the shoot, like 2 weeks later, I went to go edit the video. They're loaded in my computer, and I realized I had no tapes. And I called the hotel, and I'm like, did anybody happen to leave something in the room, you know, this room on this date? And they're like, and they looked and they looked and looked, and they finally called me back and they had it. And I was like, oh my God. So I'm thinking, like, if they have it, am I gonna get in trouble? Like, are they gonna arrest me for shooting, you know, pornographic acts in a hotel room without a permit or whatever? And I went there, it was like maybe 2 in the morning, because I was like, okay, I'm going right now. And I drove downtown to get the tapes, and they make me wait forever outside, and I'm still paranoid the whole time, like, they're not gonna give me my tapes, and, you know, I'm gonna get in trouble. But they gave me the tapes. So that part worked out, and I had a lot of problems editing this because editing dialogue is a big pain in the ass. It really is. So yeah, it took me 6 months to edit this. I mean, not like working on it every single day or anything like that, but having to take breaks because I was just like, I can't do this. Like, because I'm an okay editor. I'm not like a great editor by any means. So when certain things are not like perfect, it's harder for me to figure out how to make it work. But in the end, it all worked out. But yes, it was hell. I hope you like it. I'm actually really pleased with the way it turned out, and it was a learning experience. But it was a very difficult learning experience, that's for sure.
Usually you use moody electronic music in your productions. What made you decide to do something different?
Well, this movie is a comedy. I mean, I tend to make either comedies or horror movies. The horror movies, of course, lend themselves very well to weird, creepy, and shrill music. Whereas with this one, this is a fun movie, so I wanted the music to be fun. And Flying Hands is a production music company they have this, it's kind of like Columbia House, but you get a production music CD every month instead, which is not nearly as exciting most of the time. But when I got this one, I've been looking for the project that would work for this music, and this was definitely it, because like the silly 50s commercial music totally goes with the over-the-top-ness of this video.
What's your favorite scene?
It's hard to say. Of course, I mean, I love the sausage scene because Lena delivered that so wonderfully. One of the scenes, the forced cocksucking and foot worship one, that was one of those scenes where I was like, okay, you guys have to stop this now because I can't watch this anymore. Like it's one of those things where I'm like, you guys all have to go home now. So at one point I was like, I can't do this. It's like we're done with this part. So in some ways that's my favorite scene, but the sausage scene is definitely